I'm live. Hello, people. Hello. How are you doing? Okay, let me just set up the chat here so I can see your chat. And welcome, folks. Welcome. And it's Adult Beverage Friday, so I had my adult beverages, and I'm here to respond to the trolls. I hope the trolls show up. But they won't. But it would be great if they did, so they can come here and challenge me. Their comments are fine. I don't like some of the people that leave like mean comments without explaining. If you make a point in the video that is a reasoned point and you want me to respond, those are fine. I'm okay with disagreement. If you disagree with me, I put a point in. But if you're just gonna make zucking negative comments without any explanation, like this one guy there that says, "Oh, don't believe this guy. He's telling you wrong things," and it's like, well, why don't you say it instead of speaking like you actually know something? So give your argument, and then if your argument is sound, then we'll debate it, and you can have your piece on my site, on my platform, on my channel. But if you're just going to make negative comments, and this is your chance, guy, come over here and go speak your piece, and let's see how smart you are. Okay, I just don't like these kinds of attacks where people just attack me, and I don't get a chance to respond. So here, get your chance to respond to my video. So for those of you who don't know what's going on, so I made a video about IPv6, and for whatever reason, well, I know what the reason is, but I'll talk about it in a moment. Some people are saying I don't know what I'm talking about. So yeah, so if you think I don't know what I'm talking about, just make sure you're here so you can state to the people here that I don't know what I'm talking about. I guess I can't even tell you how many years I've been in IT, in tech. So I guess my years are not enough, because you look at a book and you have a definition in a book, and I don't follow your zucking definition, so I must be zucked up. Because I don't follow your words and your definition and what is in the book. I make up my own terms many times because I've been at this long before some of these terms ever came up. Okay? It's like somebody said to me, that there was actually somebody who challenged me and said, browser isolation, because I use the term browser isolation. Isn't it this the definition for browser isolation? Because I guess they went to the internet and Wikipedia or something, and somebody had a definition for browser isolation. Well, I came up with my definition of browser isolation before anybody used that word. Before anyone else used it. It was not on the internet when I started using the word browser isolation. So somebody comes up with a word and puts it on Wikipedia. Well, Zoc, that doesn't mean I'm wrong. I came up with my own words, okay? So, that's a genius about people here. They go, think that because they pass a few networking tests that they actually know a lot. When I've been doing networking and routers since the 90s. 90, when the internet started. So it's like, oh, I guess I don't know anything. Well, maybe I don't. So, state it, and I'm okay with that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But when it comes to the topic that we're talking about, which is privacy, I don't think I'm wrong about the privacy topic, and that's what we're here to discuss tonight. Hello, Praveen Kumar. Hello, Bel G. Dari Drogon, SI6. Friskhead, Midi Van, JM. Hello, Twitty. Thank you, Twitty. Thank you. Locudos. What did I miss here? Felix J. Silly Willy. Bell. Entire Meyer. Hello, Entire Meyer. Well, Entire Meyer, it doesn't mean I'm perfect, but, I'd like to have a reasoned discussion, and I'm okay with that. Reasoned discussion's fine. I don't block what people say about me, negative or positive. Hello, James Mason, Eddie Ordaz, Bell G, hey you, oh whoa. James Kennedy. No, I'm not. I haven't read your comment, James Kennedy. I'm sure it's fun. Thank you, Twitty. Thank you so much. Anyway, let me just do a quick summary of what I did in my video, or what I said in my video, and then we'll talk about why everyone's like so up in arms about it. Actually, not everyone, but just a select few. Some small percentage of people are up in arms about it because they don't like it when I say something negative about their their reason for existence. In this case, it's IPv6. And I'm not going to back down, okay, guys? I'm not going to back down. IPv6 is bad for you right now. It's bad for you. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you can avoid IPv6, and it's not going to be avoidable. We can't avoid it in the future, but we can't avoid it for a short term, and maybe some other solution will come to us later on. But at the moment, we can avoid it, and if we can avoid it, we should avoid it, and we will talk about why these people who speak negatively about what I'm saying here don't really understand the privacy question, that's the zucking question, privacy. Okay? When you argue with me about zucking NAT and NAT64 and Slack and neighbor discovery and all this BS about IPv6, you are missing the zucking point, and that is privacy. And yes, I've had adult beverages, so I'm angry. Yes, I've had adult beverages. So, when I'm trying to make a point here, the point of the video is that I discovered that, and I didn't really pay attention for a long time, and now it stuck up on me, and I looked at it and I said, Zuck, if I want to attack you, and some people were like saying, well, you're no network expert, and I'm the expert, and whatever, and or somebody was saying that I was like being egotistical because I claim myself to be an expert. I'm an expert of tracking people. That's what I do. I find out how we are tracked. That's what I do. Not too many people do that. They're always on the opposition. I'm one of those people that say, how are we tracked? And we will zuck them so we are not tracked. That's what I do. Okay, I'm not here to teach you how to set up Sophos, Checkpoint, whatever on your zucking enterprise network. That is not my concern. I don't really care about that. What I care about that is we are zucking tracked, and how to stop the zuckers from tracking us. That's what I do. So don't zucking think about that you know the answer to the question if you don't even get the point. If you don't get the point is to stop the zuckers from tracking us. I actually, side note, somebody was actually, I had a nice chat with this gentleman on Brax, and he's a very good guy, and he gave me some information I'm going to be using in the video about browser fingerprinting next week. This is something I'm researching right now, and it's really sad and disturbing how more things are being used to track us. And he was talking about, he actually passed me a link to this guy who was supposedly some cybersecurity expert, and he made some claims and statements about how VPNs are useless, and he went on and on and on. Custom ROMs on Android are useless unless it's this particular one, and I was like looking at this like, this guy's zocked up. Here's another individual who is very good at cybersecurity, and I don't take it away from him. He's very good in cybersecurity, but because very nice specialized skills, and I appreciate that of people. But his analysis is off, and the analysis that who is your zucking threat? When you're talking to me about Sophos and Checkpoint and Cisco and whatever firewall you zucking have, who is your zucking threat? That is not a threat that applies to my home. Okay, I don't have to worry about DMZs and so on in my household. That's a corporate problem. I don't have to partition networks and have virtual networks. None of this matter in a household. My only concern in a household is that somebody is going into my network and controlling my zucking computer or tracking my activities. And these people just lost it, completely lost it. And they're talking to me about NAT and say, well, NAT is not a firewall. Why are you saying NAT is a firewall? You know, NAT is not a firewall. And then they start quoting something from here and there on the internet and say, NAT is not a firewall. It's like, my goodness, get the point. Get the point. Okay? The point is your computer being tracked? Does your computer not get tracked on IPv4 versus IPv6? Anyway, we're gonna go through that. This is just zucked up. You know, it's like okay. So one of the main questions, and I'll get to Q&A and I'll get the Q&A, and you can ask me anything in a moment. But let me just explain a little bit of why I think a certain group of people are out there arguing about my definition that NAT is a firewall. NAT is not intended in its first creation to be a firewall. NAT, network address translation. And in case you didn't know what this means, is if you install a router from any router. So you put a modem from your ISP, and then you attach a router, or you get one from them with a router on it. What happens is it creates a different subnetwork in your house, and the subnetwork uses a different set of IP addresses, typically in the range of 192.168.whatever. Okay? Or in some cases, it starts with 10 dot whatever. It depends on the device. Usually 192.168. When it does that, it creates a different subnetwork. Well, 192.168.x.x and the 10 series are IP addresses that are not routable on the internet. They're not routable. So if you try to connect if somebody from the internet says, I'm going to connect to your network and your IP address is 192.168.2.65, I can't reach you. I can't reach you because you're in the NAT layer, NAT, network address translation, which is what your router does. So let's say your IP address is 66.156.22.186. That may be I will never remember the number, but that is your public IP address. But once it gets to your router creates a subnetwork, which is in the 192 series. And somebody is arguing and saying, well, do you know the origins of zucking NAT? It's like, oh my gosh, you're like telling me I've been in the internet before you guys were born. Suck! I was doing routing in the 1990s, late 80s even. For goodness sakes, don't tell me like I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay? Yes, I know NAT was created to spare IP addresses. By having your own subnetwork with a 192 series, you're not using a public IP address, therefore saving IPv4 IP addresses. I know that, obviously, for goodness sake. But when NAT was designed, there's a side benefit to it. When you have a local area network with a 192.168 series of IP addresses, no one from the outside can go in and control your computer directly. You actually have to take some steps to make your computer visible. Otherwise, it's not. So by default, simply by plugging in a network, you're not visible on the internet by default. Nobody can see your devices. They only know that you talk to the server. The server you're talking to knows where you are, what your IP address of the router is, but they can't see your devices. Somebody can't attack you at your home network and see your devices directly. You're gonna have to put a virus in one of those computers to do that. So by default, we have a built-in firewall What is a firewall? A firewall is to stop somebody from coming in. So don't fucking give me like official definitions like I'm supposed to like say, oh, firewall is officially this and that and that's, before rules, after rules. It's like, Zoc! You're telling me this. Like, I don't know what a before rules and after rules, there's all those processing things that you do in a zucking router. I mean, I do zucking Linux. Okay? It's like, I give you the Brax router with, there's a firewall in a Brax router. Yes, there's a firewall in there. Oh, I don't know anything about firewalls. Oh, like idiots. Anyway, that's not the point. Who cares if there's a firewall or not? If you don't understand that your zucking router is gonna be invaded with privacy concerns if you have IPv6. Okay, what is my point? The point, guys, is when you do IPv6, your IP address is not that NAT unroutable IP address of 192.168 whatever. It's not going to be that. When you use IPv6, your IP address will be visible on the internet on a device by device level. There's not going to be a firewall per se or anything to stop it like NAT. Whether you define it to be a firewall or not, I don't care. I don't care. The fact is, when you use IPv6, your device is visible on the internet. If you talk to the internet, I can see your device IPv6 address. So if you go to my website and you're on IPv6 and IPv6 is completely used, it's not yet used completely, it's partially used. But let's say that it were, let's fast forward a few years and where IPv6 is completely in use. If you go to my website, right now I only see your router IP address. Okay, now I'll see you, your wife, your children. I will see every single device on there with IPv6 because that's what IPv6 does. It gives an address to every device. Every device. And here's another thing that you don't understand. IPv6, the way it's set up right now, there's two parts to it. There's the prefix, and there's the next part called the interface ID. The prefix, believe it or not, is the subnetwork, which is equivalent to your IPv4 router. That defines up to the router level, the prefix. Except in IPv4, the current IP addresses, it's bought in a pool, so Spectrum will get a pool of IP addresses and just assign them in some random way. Well, it doesn't work like that in IPv6. In IPv6, it's actually attached to locations, ISPs, and specific networks and subnets. So, believe it or not, IPv6 will be used to track your neighborhood. I'm not even sure how fine it's going to be, depending on the number of devices in the future. I mean, what? Is it going to be tracking us to the street level? An IPv6 address is precise enough, and there's enough of it that they can actually say, we're going to allocate IPv6 addresses for every street. So we can actually identify you in a very, very narrow way. You can't do that with IPv4 right now. IPv4 is city. IPv4 is a whole city. So where are you? I'm in LA. Oh, okay. There's, how many millions of people here? IPv6 will be granular to the level where it can actually say, oh, okay, you're on this neighborhood. Interesting. Okay. Now in the neighborhood, then I can see individual devices in IPv6. And I'm like thinking to myself, interesting. There's something called neighbor discovery where you can actually go have people, emit the neighbors around you, which means Facebook, sucking Facebook will now track all this device and say, oh, now we know your sucking neighbor devices, and we're going to record all the MAC addresses. Even if your addresses are temporary, we're going to record all that, and so we can track behavior. And then we're going to add that to browser fingerprinting so we can identify each sucking device and what each device is doing. I mean, some of these people in networking are just like, they got blinders on. Blinders. They don't even realize that what I'm talking about is sucking device fingerprinting. Device fingerprinting, people. That's what the issue is. Device fingerprinting. I don't care whether you use Slack, SLAAC, or if you use random MAC addresses. If I combine that with browser fingerprinting, I can identify the sucking device and what everything is doing. And I'll be able to identify you. Whatever difficulties I have with IPv4, which we try to protect with a VPN, is going to be much harder with IPv6. Much harder. I know how to break into it. It scares me. It should scare you. If you're not sucking scared, you are in the wrong sucking business. Jeez. Some of these people go and say, well, your definition of NAT and firewall is like Zuck. This is why these people are afraid of that. They don't want to go to their boss and say, hey, this guy on the internet says we don't need a firewall. We're spending all this money on firewalls from Check Point and Sophos and so on and Cisco and all these firewalls. And this guy on the internet, his name is Rob Braxman. He said we don't need a firewall for our enterprise. I didn't zucking say that. Of course you need a zucking firewall for an enterprise. There's things that you do there. You got DMZs, you got servers that you expose on the zucking internet. That is not the household setup. We're talking about homes here. In a typical home, all you have to worry about is NAT. You put NAT in, your surveillance cameras are not exposed. Your baby cameras are not exposed by default unless it's on radio, like they did in the past. So by default, your computers cannot be invaded by Intel Management Engine, IME. Why? Because to do your IME, they got to go to your IP address and find the port number for IME, which is 56, whatever it is, I can't remember. Okay? So whatever the port number is for IME, then they can go into your port and then invade your zucking Intel computer and get in there. They can't do that because of NAT. Network Address Translation. You don't have to do much of anything. In your home network, you put a zucking router in and your computer cannot be invaded by NAT unless somebody breaks into your local area network. So they can't do it. Why? Because of NAT. Because it's not routable. So somebody from your office can't break into your computer unless you log into their VPN, the corporate VPN, and then they can break into your computer. So these people are like missing the point. It's like, what are you trying to... If you're like into my channel because you don't like what I said about IPv6, then you're in the wrong zucking channel, because this channel is about privacy. I'm trying to teach you about how your devices can be zucking tracked. You're being tracked. So my job is to stop it from being tracked. When you use an IPv6 address, I now have granularity to the device level. Yes, if you're in the corporate world, go stick to your terminology about NAT and firewalls. I don't care. That's fine. So if you're going to say, "Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about because I work in enterprise and I know I need to do my DMZs and this," it's like Zuck. It's like it's like wasting our time because it has nothing to do with the topic. The topic is, how does somebody break into your computer? Can your computer be broken into by IME? Can someone break into your system through IME, Intel Management Engine, vPro, and control your Intel computer? At the moment, no. But if you bring your computer to your office in a corporate network, yes, because it's direct. But through NAT in your house, no. Can they still do it? Yes. If you do a VPN to your corporate network, then your computer becomes visible, and then yes, they can do it then. But through NAT directly, no. No. The only way they do it is they have to hack your computer and put a virus in there and do social engineering to cause a virus that your computer dials out, connects externally, and then they can do it, but not directly. So we're not doing anything. NAT saves the day. But when you do IPv6, you get rid of NAT. Suddenly, your devices are visible to the other side. Somebody actually said, that's not true. That's not true. IPv6 has firewalls. It's like, I think you're missing the point. I think you're missing the point. If you are on the internet and your device emits an identifier, where I know what your IP address does to the device level, I can track what you do. If I have this very long, 8-part IP address, IPv6 address that identifies your device, and now I can do browser fingerprinting, and in fact, all I have to do is actually get the prefix, the first part of the router address of IPv6, do device fingerprinting to identify your device. I can track you zucking forever. I can track you zucking forever. I'll know everything you do every zucking day. If I were Google, Facebook, Apple. I don't even include Microsoft because they don't have the skills. But between those three. So, Amazon. Let's not forget Amazon. So guys, understand what I'm talking about here. This is not some minor stuff I'm talking about. This is not some minor issue. This is a big thing. If you use IPv6, they can actually pinpoint. By the way, IPv6 is not yet used completely, so you actually don't go to the internet on IPv6. So IPv6 is, at the moment, implemented mostly by ISPs at the ISP level. So a lot of your IPv6 addresses are addresses only at the ISP level. So they're actually FE80 addresses, which means they don't get out of the ISP. That doesn't change anything. That means the ISP can observe every device in your network. They define what the subnet is. They can define, it's like every device in my network, I want to spy on, see what devices you do or you have and what you do with them. The ISP, in my case Spectrum, or in case of your phone company, your AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, they can spot by device. And some of you are worried about IMEI, IMSI, and all that. They don't need that anymore because they use their own zucking identifier, which is the FE80 IPv6 in their subnet, and they already know what you're doing. And your reaction is, let's worry about firewall definitions. Let's worry about NAT. It's like, fuck, do you understand what's happening here? Somebody's tracking your zucking movements. Okay. That's what happens when you have adult beverages, guys. You get emotional, and that's it. Now, don't worry, guys, if you... For my enemies who don't like what I say about zucking NAT and firewalls, no, you have job security. No one's going to tell you that in your enterprise you shouldn't have firewalls. I'm not going to tell you that. You should have firewalls. However, that is not my topic. So if you're thinking that I'm saying NAT replaces your zucking firewall, for your zucking enterprise, then, you got to lose screw. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Now, saying that NAT acts as a firewall, and you're going to come here and say that I don't know what I'm talking about, it's like, zuck you. That's what I'm going to say to you. Okay? Go back to your zucking books, read your zucking books, and get your zucking certification. And I knew more about networks before those certifications even existed. Okay. Anyway. Whew. That's a lot. Okay, zuck you. Yeah, what are that? Yes, Leroy. Leroy, how you doing, Leroy? Get out of the water, Leroy. It's zucking depressing with all this coronavirus stuff. Okay, CSL learning about zuck. You zucking. Okay, breathe in, breathe out. So thank you, great goal. Discord is from China and Zuckum. Okay, so sat phones can always be tracked. Talk about sat phones. Somebody was actually saying, I don't want to be tracked in my iPhone and my Android. Can I use a sat phone? And I was like saying to myself, what's the name of the sat phone company in Iridium in San Diego? So if you wanted to track sat phones, You plug in onto one spot, since all calls go to Iridium in their central office in their satellite in San Diego. So all you do is put in one tap, the National Zucking Agency can do one tap into Iridium, and they got you. So no, you don't want that. You don't want that. Zucking trolls, James Mason. Zucking trolls, yes. And zucking good guys too. Like there's was it Max Rader? He's a good guy. It's very smart. He was like quoting RFCs to me. RFC this and RFC that, and I was like, Zuck, I hate RFCs. I hate having to read RFCs. It's like, and Max Rader knew every RFC. So it was like, Zuck. Since I get involved with all parts of the internet, there's no zucking way I can read every zucking RFC. So I don't try to. So anyway, let me see if I missed any comment. Did I? Okay. Since there's too many comments now, go ask your question again, and I'll read that now. Wow, that blew my mind. Normally, the term satellite phone seems so techie. Hello, Earth. I'm here for the zucking rants. So what we'll do when it becomes IPv6 becomes standard, we're going to need some sort of appliance that we need to route our traffic elsewhere. So we need something a more sophisticated VPN when the time comes. When IPv6 is actually used. At the moment, your router emits an IPv4 address. So you're still identified by IPv4. When the time comes when you are identified by an IPv6 address, we are so zucked. Facebook's just going to love that. Oh my gosh, they're going to have a field day. They probably want to push IPv6 so they can, know you to the street level and say, oh, I know who you are. Just by your IPv6 prefix. Just from the prefix, they can probably, automatically find out your location just from the prefix. So it's a scary time when that happens. We are not there yet. Right now, the only people doing the subnetting for IPv6 is your ISP. And I want to deny the ISP that kind of data. Yes, you can turn up IPv6 for now. Yes, so they support dual stack mode, so you can go to your modem, turn off IPv6. Now, if you're not sophisticated, you don't know what's going on, it's very simple. Insert another router in between the whatever your ISP provides you. Let's say you got a modem router from your ISP. Usually you want to get rid of that and just get a modem to save you money because you're paying for the modem and the router. They'll probably charge you $20 for modem and router. So if you get rid of the router, they'll probably charge you $10 for the modem. Okay? In which case, then you add your own router. You can get a router for $50. So the router you get will default to IPv4. Let's say you get a Netgear or something like that, Linksys, whatever, TP-Link. You plug that in. By default, will go IPv4, and then we're back to where we are today, which is NAT. If you use the one from Spectrum, Spectrum is now installing IPv6. So is AT&T. So are a lot of different DSL providers in some other countries. So they want to install, they're forcing IPv6 on you. So, but they still support IPv4. So while they support IPv4, which will be for many years still, then we want to do that. We want to take it away from them, the opportunity to track your device by device. Because when you use IPv6, they have an into your network. They can actually see all the devices inside. When you have IPv4, they're stopped at the router. They can only see the router. They can't see beyond it. Okay? They'd have to hack you to get beyond that. Okay, so that's why you want IPv4. So, but they're installing IPv6. Now, if somebody argues with me and said, they're not really installing IPv6, well, guys, the Spectrum guy was right here. I asked him. Yes, we are installing IPv6. In fact, we're installing IPv6 in mesh. So, if you're arguing with me about it, I got the Spectrum guy right here, and I know because I'm doing a lot of work with Brax routers, and when I install a Brax router, I'm having issues with IPv6, which is incompatible because the Brax router blocks IPv6 because of the same reasons we're already talking about, IPv6 leaks. So if you're not able to if you don't understand what's going on, all you do is put a Brax router in between. Brax router has a firewall. It actually has a firewall. What firewall do you use? It comes with UFW by default. It runs UFW as a firewall inside the box. So Brax router is automatically firewall. Everything blocked by default. So you can't really do much. You can't do port forwarding. It's not available. I don't allow that. No one can actually come into your network from the outside because it goes through the VPN. So yeah. So UFW, what's the big deal? UFW pretty standard, you know. In fact, that's I think that's default on Ubuntu now. Okay. So firewall built in Mac OS. Yeah, you know, it's built into Windows too. Every system now has a firewall, but you don't want to be defending right at the doorway because even the IP address itself is enough to track you. So next week you're gonna get some zucking surprises about browser fingerprinting. I discovered there's some stuff I didn't know about. Believe it or not, there are things I didn't concentrate on, and I had no, you know, I'm kind of a location expert, and I know how locations tracked, and there was an aspect of location I didn't know about, and I discovered it, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty scary. And if you combine it with IPv6, you are like completely zucked. This will be next week's video, and we'll talk about that. And it's scary. It's scary when we discover that. You know, how they can track you in ways that I'm, you know, not even certain, you know, what the limitations are. I mean, you will be surprised at what I'm going to tell you next week. We're talking about somebody can make an app that can track you without asking for permissions. No permissions, permissionless. And it's like, Zuck, what a hole. What a hole. Somebody actually, and I'm surprised that Google doesn't put permissions on this. But yeah, somebody can track you at the device level with something that doesn't even require any permissions. So they can do it just like Facebook. Facebook now currently tracks your MAC address, which is going to get worse if it were IPv6, you know, so you don't want to give them access to that. And this is at the app level. So if you have a Facebook app, they're doing this, they're tracking MAC addresses in your network, you know, through ARP, which is IPv4. And, you know, that alone just is sucking crazy that, you know, Facebook will be allowed to do that permissionless, be able to, because it's such a low level call. They don't actually protect at the low level. They only protect at some obvious level, like when somebody says give me location, they protect you against that, but nobody says protect me against ARP. They don't. You know, it's like you know, these are the flaws in Android. So it's really scary. So anyway, 5G mesh nets with cams and sensor will track us without us needing to shoot our own selves in the foot with IPv6. 5G, it's another issue, yes. Huge T-Byte. I didn't even see you, Huge T-Byte. It was too busy. Is flip phone better than a smartphone for tracing? Obviously, there's not going to be any contact tracing on the flip phone, but be serious though. You only have 3G, so get a de-Googled phone. So anyway, you know, I haven't mentioned de-Googled phones in a long time, like over a month, and you know, maybe you think I'm like you know, getting weak on that and I'm not pushing it. And I'm going to tell you right now, guys, worry about contact tracing. Some of you updated to iOS 14 or iOS 13.51. I haven't done that. Why would you update your sucking iOS? Because it bugs you every day and you said, oh, I guess I might as well do it. Suck. You allow your phone to get updated and you're actually allowing the Bluetooth to get into hyperactive mode. So everywhere you go, that Bluetooth is emitting a signal in there. And that's what I was trying to avoid. And you know, that code is not in AOSP, and the Google phone doesn't have that. So while we don't have it, in fact, if it ever existed in a Google phone, I would certainly write code to, since it's open source, I can do that. I can kill it. But, you know, fortunately, they do not do that in a Google phone. There's no COVID-19 Bluetooth hyperactive mode in there in AOSP. So, guys, you know, if you're not on an AOSP phone, the Google phone, and you're accepting contact tracing, it's like, suck that. What do you think contact tracing is going to be for? Just COVID-19? You're allowing a new way of surveillance on your device that's going to just keep on and on and on. And 2 years from now, you're going to forget that you actually have a device with contact tracing built in that can be used for other things. So it's like, suck you. I'm just going to take the precautions a normal way physically. I'm going to wear a mask and do social distancing. I am not going to allow more devices to zucking track me. I'm a big boy. I don't need you to tell me, you know, that you're keeping an eye on me. I'm a big boy. Okay? I keep my distance. I'm on the boat. Nobody there but me. Okay? No one within 20 feet of me at any one time. Okay, I'm not worried about getting zucking coronavirus on the boat. I mean, there's like, closest people are 20 feet away, outdoors. So zuck, guys, get a zucking the Google phone and stop this. I mean, goodness, do not update to the latest Android or the latest iOS. Please, people, I can't imagine you did that. And many of you did. And it's like, zuck. I'm not sinking in here. Maybe I'm not being direct with you. Maybe I am not being direct. Guys, okay, I'm going to be direct. Don't zucking update your phone. Don't get that zucking contact tracing code on your zucking computer or you will get zucked. It's irreversible. Once you do it, you've turned your computer in another spy device that can do more spy things. Thank you, James Miller. Did you see the latest Pine phone has a convergence package, 3 GB RAM, 30 gigabytes eMMC. I thought it already had the eMMC. I thought it was already 32 gig. What was it, 2 gigabytes before? I actually don't remember what the difference is. So not sure what that means, but it sounds interesting as a side computer. I didn't actually read that. Somebody sent me a note about the Pine phone convergence thing, and I hope that the power saving on the Pine phone is finalized and I can start creating code for it, because I'm excited about using the Pine phone as an LTE router, but I can't do it when it only lasts 6 hours. So when it's more stable on that front, I want to use. Also, I want to be able to get Pine phones. They're kind of hard to get still, so I want to be able to get it in quantity when the time comes, because I want to sell those. So previously it had 2 gigabytes of RAM and 16 eMMC. I actually didn't know that. I thought it had 32 eMMC. Okay, that's nice. But I guess if you're going to use it as a desktop-like device, you may want that extra RAM in there. I want a Pine phone badly. Well, yeah, they need to. I can understand from Pine 64's point of view that they're taking a risk and they can't really mass produce it and then not have enough sales and then they lose money. So they're being very careful and they're not producing it on. They're only building what, a couple thousand a batch. How many per batch? That's not a big amount. Mine are out of work. I want a Rob version Pine phone. Well, it's just code, you know. I just use. I wanted to use the Debian Fosh, and you know, it was pretty flexible Linux, and I was able to do some stuff with it, but I kind of stopped because I didn't want to spend time when there was an issue with power saving. Would you recommend a Pine phone over a Google phone? No, at the moment I would recommend a Google phone. Unfortunately, the Google phone is stable. It works. It does everything, and you know it's a solution that you know works. So unless you want to do experimentation, I would consider like Linux phones still experimental. You know, hopefully we'll get beyond that, but we're not beyond that yet. It's slower. You know, coronavirus is part of it, but at the moment, Linux phones are still experimental for a few more months still. So if you want something practical, and you'll always need the Google phone. The Google phones, you know, allow most apps to work. Not all, but most apps to work, and so you're able to do most things. And for example, in my case, you know, I'm a sailor. I like to go out on the ocean, and I like to use Navionics as my GPS app, and Navionics works on a Google phone, so it's it has location and all that without giving my information to anybody else. So it's practical, it works, and you're not giving up that much. But I want to caution you. Some of you people are like looking at some of these other phones and like thinking that there's that you have to have a certain kind of phone. This one guy was pushing, specifically that no other OS is possible except for graphene, for example. Now, graphene is fine. I don't have a problem with graphene itself. But for somebody to say that, is that Bonzo? Wow. Haven't seen you in a while. So for somebody to say that graphene is the only option is like kind of missing the point. Part of the problem is what models of phones are we able to afford or buy, and graphene, for example, only work for the Pixel, so it's kind of expensive to begin with. And the graphene guy did, Daniel Micah, I think. He did a good job of, explaining his position in a write-up. But most of the stuff that he does is already built in to Android 10. So you don't really need to worry about it too much if you have a de-Googled Android 10, because a lot of the stuff that he's saying that he does is already an Android 10. And the rest of the stuff is kind of unproven attacks. He will mention things like verified boot. If you modify the bootloader, then you need to be able to lock it again, because on and on and on and on, because somebody can attack your device, which is like, these are not realistic attack vectors for what we're worried about. Thank you, Vision Thing. Thank you so much. These are not attack vectors that we need to be concerned about with contact tracing, Google tracking, and all that. It depends on who the threat is. If you work for the CIA and you want to make sure nobody takes your list of agents that's on your phone, then yes, you may need to take some extra precautions. For most of us normal people, what I advise actually is do not put data on your phones. Don't put data on the phones. Don't put like your naked pics on the phone. Don't put like secret documents on the phone. My phone doesn't have any of that. I can change phones every day. You can switch me to a different phone every day. There's nothing on my phone. Everything is in Brax.me. It's in the cloud anyway. I don't keep actual data on my phone. You can delete the photos on my phone. I move it to Brax if it's important. Otherwise, I don't keep it. And it doesn't matter if the phone changes. The dependence on a device where you want your device to have everything in it is actually a bad idea for privacy. You should actually not rely on that too much. In which case, some of the threats that some people say need to be on a phone some of the protections you need on the phone because you're putting so much information on it. It's not an issue for the kind of people I'm trying to train here on how to use their devices. So we don't need to go hardcore with, we need to do all this kind of encryption. By the way, all my Google phones are encrypted. They're encrypted with SE Linux. It's by default. They're already encrypted. But we don't need to go, super duper caring about little things that are modes of attack or vectors of attack that we don't even know exist, not proven in real life. Because if somebody attacked my phone, there's nothing on the phone. That's my philosophy, and that's what I want to teach you. It's because this is about privacy. Privacy is what I'm saying. And if you're doing what I'm doing, you don't rely on your phone for camera. Some of you are like saying, I don't like your Motorola G7s because the cameras are not as good as iOS. And my response to that is, suck. I am not going to buy iOS and be spied on just so I can use a zucking camera. If I need a zucking camera, I get a standalone camera. I have so many high-end zucking standalone cameras that are better than an iPhone. Not this. This is a little older now. This is a Canon G7X Mark II, which is a year old. But I have a gimbaled Osmo Pocket. I have a Sony A6400, I think is what it is. I can't even remember. Don't rely on the phone. These are not connected to the internet. I take pictures on this. Guys, take your naked pictures with this. It's not on the internet. If you want naked pictures, put it on these. Don't put it on your sucking phone. If that's your thing, use your head. Don't be on the internet. Don't put stuff on a phone that's on the internet and say, I'm going to be like, Kim Kardashian and go, get in the mirror and go take a selfie. Okay. I'm an Instagram star, so I guess I need all that. Well, if that's what you want to do, then you're not into privacy. If you're like me, I don't do much to my devices. That's why using a Ubuntu Touch phone is fine. I don't use it for much of anything. God, thank you, Twitty. Glad you could stay this long. You mean you're gonna go? Do those Canon connect with only fans? What does that mean? Pictures of my Zuck. Take pictures the traditional way. There you go. So I understand that someone actually said, I don't like your phones. They're not the best. They're not the newest. The Motorola G7 phones I have they're brand new, by the way. I sell them to you brand new, and they're last year's model. So I'm getting they're getting hard to get now. So I may have to change models, but they're basically last year's model. So they're approximately, they were produced like mid last year, and now we're mid this year. So they want to come up with a new model now, so they're out of stock. So I guess that's old because it's 2019 model, even though I'm selling it to you brand new. I guess that's old. So, no, I got to get the latest Samsung S whatever. Can't even know what the model is. I only want to de-Google a Samsung S20. I can't de-Google a Samsung S20. Again, I test these phones to make sure that they do the job for protecting of our privacy. And I don't want you to be dependent on the phones. You want the phones to do the basic apps that you need. The less apps, the better, because if you put in a lot of unknown apps, especially like, weather apps and things like that are useless. These things are going to spy on you. And next week, I'll explain more. Galaxy S200, I thought it was an S20, but what do I know? I don't do Samsungs. G7 is a solid, straight-up device. Actually, it is, and it's new, and it's inexpensive for what it does. And it's pretty good power, and it it's very competitive with a flagship from from today. You know, I mean from the year before. So it may be not as powerful as the flagship of the most popular model from Samsung or iOS, but it's actually very competitive. So it's not bad. Is a Pixel a better device? To be honest with you, no. To be honest with you, no. The reason I sell Pixels is some of you want Verizon's, and Verizon only works with the Pixel. And the problem that I discovered with the Pixel, guys, is that if you ever, if the battery ever dies, because it's an older phone, which is why I'm trying to sell only new Pixel phones, which are hard to find. I have to find them brand new. And it costs more money to find them brand new, even though it's old. Is because the battery, once you have to replace the battery, you basically have to trash the phone. It's very hard to replace the battery on a Pixel. Nexus 5, no problem. I can replace the battery in Nexus 5 instantly. It's very easy. Pixel, extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. I ruined 2 Pixels already trying to replace the battery. So I'm going to lose money on Pixels. So I'm going to try to avoid Pixels unless it's brand new. Unless it's brand new. Get a Polaroid Instamatic. As long as you can unlock the bootloader, yeah, it is to convert to a Google phone, which is a trick in itself, Mohammed. The problem is you have to have expertise with every phone model, and some models, sub-models cannot be unlocked. Just a tip for people who want to do this. If you have a Verizon kind of phone, typically Verizon locks the bootloader for unlocking. So Nexus 5 works for Verizon, yes, but I'm selling it as a Ubuntu Touch. Very hard to find. Very hard to find Nexus 5s now. That's why I can't really promote it either. PinePhone uses a removable battery, so don't. There's no issue there. Difficult to move from iPhone to Android, but had to do it. Hello, Mike. So yeah, if you're fond, I of course I'm a big user of iPhones for many years, and I did a lot of app development on Apple, on iOS, but I just couldn't. I mean, it's supposed to be the privacy phone, and really they're saying you're private except to us. So yeah, no one can spy on your iPhone except for Apple. Well, I don't want Apple to spy on me, so zuck you, Apple. So, but yes, the fact of the matter is, it is very hard to break into an Apple device if you are a hacker. It is, however, inconsequential for Apple to spy on you. So we are the privacy people, with iPhone privacy BS. So they're tracking you. They're going to do COVID contact tracing on you with Apple. And my answer to that is, zuck you, Apple. I'm not going to use an Apple iOS. Verizon works on a Nexus 5 with Ubuntu Touch. Yes, it should. Typically, Snapdragon chipsets are locked. No, it's nothing to do with it. Motorola's or Snapdragon chipsets. It has to do with the choice of the carrier. So Verizon, when they buy phones from LG, they said, okay, we're gonna have specifically Verizon branded LG phones. We want it bootloader locked. We want to hold that customer so they don't leave us. So we want bootloader locked. So if I were you guys, just a little tip for future reference: don't ever buy a phone from the carrier, because that will have lesser value because the phone will be locked. Don't ever buy from the carrier. You'll be they probably give you a discount because of that. So it's better to buy a phone direct, like from Google or whoever sells it, direct from the manufacturer. Don't buy it from a carrier. Done with Apple, yes. So my iOS phone does not leave the house. If I leave the house, it's going to contact trace me. So it can contact trace nothing here since it doesn't move. I think the furthest it's moved is within 5 feet. So the data will show that it's stuck to within 5 feet. I got a Pixel from Rob and put it on T-Mobile. Works perfectly. Yeah, Pixel's fine. I'm trying to concentrate on only doing Pixels that are brand new, if I can get them, which is hard. Okay, only brand new. I did try Graphene OS on a Pixel 3, not Pixel 3a, Pixel 3. Didn't work. So which goes to show you that it's not as simple. You can't just say, go use Graphene on a Pixel and it will work. No, again, submodels, whatever. Don't know why, but, I wasted my money on the Pixel 3. It does not work with Graphene because I was going to, put Graphene on it and then, sell it to you guys, but I couldn't do it. So, later on, maybe I'll try 3A, but again, if it's not 100%, it's too costly for me to do because, the inventory cost. I buy a lot of these phones in bulk and then I have to buy them and then it sits here and until somebody buys it and, if the profit margin is small, then I tie up capital in these phones. So I don't want to, it's really difficult to get into the phone business. So are your G7s okay on a Canadian GSM network? Of course, primarily because my G7s are actually mostly the international model. So yes, LTE is the same for G7. It's actually a world phone. So the G7s work anywhere. Yeah, they're perfect for anywhere. Now, shipping to Canada is kind of iffy, guys. To be honest, shipping anywhere international is iffy. It takes a while. So if you want to order internationally, just be patient. Don't hound me every week because it's going to take a while. If you're going to ask me what the time range is, it's been 2 weeks to 6 weeks to deliver. I don't have any control. Okay, I don't know why. I shipped to Australia, it arrived in 2 weeks. I shipped to Australia, 4 weeks, it hasn't arrived. It's probably, and then I showed that it showed up now. It's probably going to be 6 weeks total. And it's like, it's terrible. But I don't have any control of COVID-19. So Huge D Byte says, what are you going to when quantum dot will be required to enter any public place? That's where I will not be able to access net. Well, any public net. It's going to be crazy because, look, when 5G is enabled, I am sure they will not only do 5G, but do IPv6 with 5G. So it's like 5G can pinpoint you within inches. Combine that with an IPv6 and it's like, oh my gosh, where are we headed to? Oh my gosh. So we're going to have to do a lot of encryption. And I'm not even sure what that's going to do. Okay, because the metadata will, Anyway, we can only deal with it what we can at the moment. It's kind of a it's difficult, guys. Guys, this channel will be around, till I'll have to be broadcasting till I'm 90, and telling you about all the issues because it's not going to end. It's just going to be nonstop. Privacy will be a battle. And if you think that you get a few solutions from me, you don't want to watch me anymore, think again because unfortunately it's a constant battle. If we try to come up with a solution, the opposition comes up with something else. You block Facebook, Facebook comes up with something. You block Google, Google comes up with something. It's just nonstop. So you kind of have to be here and be ready to duke it out. You kind of have to watch me and say, what's new this week? Well, something new. I'm going to tell you next week. And it has to do with how our locations are tracked. in a new way, and it's like shocking that they can do this. Fortunately, it's not a global issue yet, because it's something that you can resolve by your choices. But if you start downloading every app you can imagine and not thinking about it, that's why you got to be careful. Use F-Droid apps when you can. Use the Google phone and be very, very selective. Excuse me. Be very, very selective with the apps you use, because you can't trust every app. More gigahertz broadband. It affects the water already. Unfortunately, 3G already affects you, so we're already being affected. You don't have to wait for 5G to get affected. We're already being affected. I kind of gave up on that though. Run apps in a browser. Well, if there is a browser, do virtual machine, Mike. I hope you've been doing virtual machines like an old cartoon, Spy versus Spy. Yes, Double J. Waveforming microwave guns to take out 5G installation. We may need to have some disinformation tools to disorient the 5G, and then some law is going to be passed that says if you do this, then you're going to go to jail. Who knows? Thought on Starlink. What is Starlink? Next, they'll be hacking our slide rules. Yeah, so it's this is all like crazy stuff, and it's disturbing that we have to fight this. And it's funny. I mean, it's bad when here I am trying to defend your privacy, and in this video, in the last video, I have to be attacked by the network police, who have to stick to the book definitions. Otherwise, apparently, I must be talking nonsense because I'm not using their book definition that they did in their certification test. It's like, I've never taken a certification test in my entire life. I remember, just to side story, I remember back in 92? Not certain. I think it was 92. And so Microsoft invited me and a few people to attend the introduction certification for Windows NT, because Windows NT was brand new. So yeah, so I sat on the thing and didn't take notes, and then I've been, I'm not bragging. I'm just very good with computers. So at the end of the presentation, people were like, I was beginning to help others who seemed to not get it. So I looked at it and figured it out, and yes, I was able to do everything I need to do with NT or in Windows for decades after that, without getting any certification. And that was actually the instruction to get certification. And I don't need certification because I'm the boss, so I don't need to prove to anyone because I'm the boss. But yes, my employees do get their certifications. I don't need one. I don't need to prove to anyone that I know what I know. So yes, so yeah, I had a lot of staff, and they all got their certifications, and but when they don't know anything, then they still have to come to me and ask. So anyway, it's just it is what it is. When you've done this for a long time, I was in networking. When we're still on dial-up. I was already doing routing in dial-up. I was already doing hacking in dial-up, So I go so far back. I don't really care about the terminology and all that. I'm really more of a doer, and I just know what I can do. So when one of the fears that I have, and this is why I'm very, very concerned about, this whole topic that I'm talking about here with IPv6, is I realize that I can use a lot of that information. I mean, that's like deadly stuff. If I can pinpoint you just even on the prefix alone, and I get a bonus too that I may get your MAC address in some cases. So if I can get the MAC, which you cannot get in IPv4. You can't get MAC addresses right now. But now in IPv6, they actually give you the MAC address. And it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. Look at all the things that Facebook can do with that. So you're actually saying to myself, from a browser fingerprinting point of view, it's like, wow, this is like a hacker's dream. And that's really why I am so concerned, because in my hacker mind, I'm like saying, browser fingerprinting, how can I track you? You know, many of you, by the way, just side note, many of, boy, this broadcast is like chock full of little details here. Many of you are so concerned about trackers. A lot of you ask me questions. What about this tracker, not tracker? And, you know, I don't even get myself concerned about trackers or cookies. What I do is make sure my device is not identified, no device fingerprinting to identify me. Then whatever it identifies is of no value if you can't point it to an individual. If you can't point to an individual, then the data doesn't have value to them. So I don't really care if I'm going to be tracked as long as I confuse the issue. Now, how do you confuse the issue? I've already told you one of the techniques for confusing the issue is to do browser isolation. Because cookies don't cross browsers. When you do browser isolation, the cookies from one side doesn't cross over to the other side. And since there are only two companies that are actively tracking cookies in a tracking way that is scary, and that is Facebook and Google, if you isolate Facebook and don't use Facebook, but if you isolate Facebook and Google, you isolate the cookies. In which case, that's it. I don't have to worry about anything else, because otherwise there's no identity. So who cares if they track me, if they don't know what I am or who I am? So I don't need to worry about trackers so much, because as you will find out, the experts in browser fingerprinting have figured out that they don't need to use cookies. Cookies are not, this is why I don't worry about cookies. They can browser fingerprint you without zucking cookies. So many of you are like so worried about zucking trackers. Spoofing the user agent can be done, by the way, in the Google phone easily. It's actually part of it. Cookies are not needed. So browser fingerprinting can be done without cookies. Locutus of Borg says, what about spoofing the user agent, which tells you your device? Well, that's one of the fears, is because there's other things that you can do, like IPv6, that can actually identify the device, and then you don't need the user agent anymore, because the MAC address tells you the device. Okay, so it's, you got to be scared about IPv6. There's some pieces of data there that are meaningful. It would have been nice if the whole IPv6 system were completely random. But the way it's distributed, it's not random. It's actually assigned by location. And because of that, it's a privacy nightmare. It's basically like predetermined tracking. So IPv6 is designed to be tracking every device forever and ever. So anyway, so the issue is are trackers something you need to worry about? And I don't. I do browser isolation of the key players that worry me, which is Google and Facebook. I don't use Facebook, so I don't have to worry about that. But isolate Google in its own browser, Chrome, and do other things in other browsers. And by doing that, then the cookies don't cross. And they may beat this in the future, but at the moment, it's still experimental. I may have to come up with a different approach. At the moment, this is a good approach. So IPv6 is the coronavirus of networking. Huge Steve Bite, you actually backed me up on that? Wow! You should read the comments of those people. On my on my video, because they don't get it. They don't get it. IPv6 is like crazy deadly for privacy. Oh my gosh, deadly, deadly. I'm, we should be happy that currently our routers are still IPv4, that IPv6 is only being used inside the ISP, and even that's bad enough. Don't even want Chrome on my computer at this point. Pete, give Google Chrome. Why? Because you're being tracked already by Google apps like Gmail and YouTube. So if you give it Chrome, Chrome doesn't have any more information. So it's fine. So use Google Chrome and then use Firefox for something else. And if you're going to do Amazon on Firefox. And that's isolation. Then you don't share the data between Google and Amazon and so on. So just think like that. Browser isolation. Hello, there's Kelp. We need privacy settings set up for router tutorial. Jellyfish, you don't need much of a tutorial. Just turn off IPv6. I mean, by default, the basic install of a router does the job. Set the username and password. Turn off. I already have a video on the basic setup of a router. Don't have plug and play and all that. UNPnP, don't enable any of that, and use a long enough password. Make it long. Make it a phrase, capital letters, put a number in there, and a single, special character. Make it long. All Wi-Fi's are hackable, so if you want to prevent somebody from hacking, if you make it long, they have to kind of show themselves, because they can't hack your Wi-Fi unless they're next to you. So if they're going to go sit in a car and hack your Wi-Fi out on the street, and your password is so long that it will take them 2 weeks to do it, 3 weeks to do it, that's good. Then you'll notice, why is that car sitting in my across the street with somebody in the car or a van, near my house? And then you'll notice that, and because somebody's trying to hack your network. So by making your passwords long, like a phrase, upper lower numeric with special characters, it will take long enough that you will notice them. But yes, all networks and Wi-Fi's are hackable at the moment. Do not turn JavaScript off. No, hey you, that is actually not smart. I don't know if you know this, but one of the biggest tricks of device fingerprinting is to find out who is turning JavaScript off. Because if you turn JavaScript off, they know, oh, privacy guy. You're actually like advertising. No, don't. Keep your browsers standard. In fact, don't put any extensions on there. Leave it kind of like plain vanilla. Do not turn off Java. Don't do any of that. It's useless. You do not want to do that. Just leave. That's a fingerprint, for goodness sakes. You've just made yourself unique. When you do turn JavaScript off, how many people turn JavaScript off? 1%? Less? You've just identified yourself to be in that 1%, and then now they can browser fingerprint you even more. No, don't do that. Do not do that. You want to be as common as you can. Plain vanilla installation. Don't put any, browser extensions are not a good thing. So avoid using browser extensions. Be as generic as possible with your many browsers. Be as generic as possible. The more generic you are, the more useless their browser fingerprinting is. So again, browser isolation, standard, plain vanilla browsers. Do not do anything unique like turn off JavaScript. Don't do anything unusual in the browser setting. Although I do not suggest that you ever do autofill. No zucking autofill. My goodness, that is like zucked up. Autofill. I have a hack where I can steal your ducking information and passwords through autofill, and it's like, it's actually a 0 day, and I don't talk about it much, but I can exfiltrate your password with autofill. So don't use ducking, autofill. People don't understand. Everything is hackable. When you log into your own computer, you just successfully hacked it. By the way, Huge Debite is very smart and very knowledgeable about the privacy field. He's pay attention to him. He's a good guy. I've known him for many years with different identities. Forget about ad block. Don't do any of that. Just plain vanilla. Who cares? Well, I ad blocked from Pi-hole. So when you have my VPN, you're automatically ad blocked. Zuck. Hail, Rob. Autofill bad. Yeah. Keep all your software and routers software updated. Well, that's kind of a basic cybersecurity thing. Yes. So, but anyway, yeah. Don't make your browser, your setup stand out, because that's the tool used to browser fingerprint you. It's harder to, of course, with IPv6, it makes it easier. So even if there's just a single clue about you, like JavaScript and IPv6, I got you. Tor for Android, is it safe? Yeah, it's called Orbot. It's official. Yes, you can use Orbot. Try not to download Tor for your computer, though, without a VPN, because the National Zucking Agency will record all the people who download Tor. So you don't want to be on their list. Okay, you don't want to be on their list. What? Drari Drogon. Browser isolation. At the end of the day, it's a choice between convenience and privacy. No, it's not necessarily that. I mean, some of the choices are very simple. It's like, can you use a computer instead of a phone? We all left computers. We went to the phone, thinking that, look at how convenient it is with this tiny device. We can do everything anywhere. But the reality is, guys, when you use a computer, the computer has less opportunity to track you than a phone. It just doesn't have all the sensors on it. So a computer, if you choose to use a computer more, like I use a computer much more than a phone. It's like 90-10 percentage. Most of you are on a 70-30, 70 phone, 30% computer. I'm on 90 computer, 10% phone. So phone to me is only 10% of my use. And, and you almost have to be like that, because since all the tracking is on the phone, and you have to have a de-Googled phone at that. So if you haven't been thinking about a de-Googled phone, and what are you waiting for? You really need to have one. And by the way, if you use my Brax router, in spite of what all these trolls are saying on my channel, the fact of the matter is, when you put a Brax router in your network, Brax router is firewalled. It's automatically firewalled. It's actually running UFW. Yes, Huge Debite. Nobody cares. Well, I care, Huge Debite. We must break free and work together. Yes, how to privacy and OffSec. That's true. And some of these people on my video were attacking me, and it's like, you know nothing. It's like, you know what? Stick to your Sophos and and your all these firewall appliances that you use, Checkpoint and Cisco and whatever other brands. I can't remember all the brands anymore. and uh, and yeah, I mean, use your appliances in your corporate world. That, I have no problem with that. You need them. You need them. So you have job security. I'm not taking your job security away. You need your firewall in your corporate environment. Yes. But don't tell me about, what I can or cannot do in an a home environment, how it can spy on me. You can't really hide on the internet unless you're a pro. Even if you're a pro, you can't hide on the internet. Hey, you don't try to hide. You create this information. The reality is it's going to have to be 50-50. 50-50 disinformation, 50 hiding. So the Google phone does not hide. Just so we're clear. If you get a Google phone, where's my Google phone? I guess it's charging. A Google phone does not hide. It's actually open, but it spoofs your identity. So because of that, do I have at least a Google phone box? No, I guess this is a Pine phone box. I guess I don't have any Google phones in here. But if you have a Google phone, you are not hiding, but you're spoofing your identity. Versus a standard Android. The moment you get a standard Android and you log in, it tracks you. It does Wi-Fi probes and scans, which includes 24/7 location tracking, which does not exist on a Google phone because that part of the code is not in the open source. I checked. It's not in the open source, but it is part of, and they've already stated it, how they do the Wi-Fi scanning to populate the triangulation database. That's part of their API. I mean, I looked at the programming code and all that. And that is not in AOSP. So AOSP, the Google phone, is safe from that. So all the contact tracing stuff, it's not there. Because it's not there, then we are safer. So, okay, what did I miss here? Okay, Huge Byte is, thank you, Huge Byte, awesome guy. It's a good friend. Huge Byte is a friend. He probably, doxed me all these years. So don't dox me, Huge Byte. But he's good at that. It's a lot of data, and he's an expert. We're kind of different kinds of experts, but he has a very, very good understanding of the issues, and so respect what he says. Pay attention to it, even though he swears. What are thoughts on Brave's privacy window? I consider Brave as an option in browser isolation. Do not rely on Brave with trackers, because as I already told you, you can be tracked without a single sucking cookie. Okay? Cookies are like the old days. These I was talking to a browser fingerprinting guy on Brax. I just met him a few days ago, and he confirmed for me that, well, of course I already knew this, but he confirmed for me that, they're tracking you with our cookies now. So don't be in the old school. I'm going to protect trackers. Some of you are like so obsessed with trackers, and you're just like, oh, I don't like Brax.me. It has trackers. Brax.me does not have trackers, but if you go to another website while in Brax.me, because there's a link, the link might have a tracker. And I don't care, because you're being tracked without the trackers. Okay, I'm running out of time, guys. So, hello, music lover boy from India. Okay, so I'm running out of time. So, Dom, hello, Dom. I want to go back to old school without mass surveillance. Fingerprinting crew have the best stories, some depressing. Yeah, for instance, DuckDuckGo uses a non-cookie tracker for detecting Brave specifically and says add to Brave when you visit it via Brave browser. Well, that's pretty easy to do, though, because Brave will announce itself in user agent. Tracking is good, though. Catch the bad guys. the authorities have ways of tracking that, they can track already. So we don't need to give them more tools. We don't want them to track normal people. They can track the bad guys all they want. Okay? I just don't want them collecting data when you're not a target. If you're not a target, why are you wasting your time on us? Okay? Guys, if you don't believe in anything I said about IPv6, please hit the dislike. If you believe what I said, or at least, enjoy what you're watching, please hit the like on the video. And just again to let you know, I am on the library platform, LBRY, and on Thursdays I post my video on YouTube on Thursdays, but I actually post it on library on Wednesday. So I will post it the night before on library, or even sooner depending on when I make the video. But I intend to put it on library ahead. So yes, please follow me on library. It's should be on the description on many of the videos. And appreciate your support. And get your Google phone, get your Brax router, Bytes VP. Oh, announcement. Can't buy a phone on Brax. Why can't you buy a phone on Brax? There's a store. If you want to pay some other means, just contact me on Brax directly, and you can arrange some other way of paying, because I'm very, very flexible. So I want to make an announcement relating to Bytes VPN. As you know, I'm the proprietor owner of Bytes VPN. Bytes VPN has been doing well, and one of the reasons that I don't want it to grow too much. I'm really kind of careful about who should be on Bytes VPN, so we don't get into the issues where PIA starts to block email, and NordVPN and all these guys. They block the emails because there's so many spammers on their sites, and their VPN is getting blocked. So their defense is to block you. So on my site, I'm very careful about who goes in there. And I don't want you to use BitTorrent on my VPN. So if you're going to be a user of BitTorrent, do not use my VPN. I don't want you. So I don't want any attention. I want the VPN to be kind of undercover, quiet, with just a few people who use the Brax router, and they can use it to advantage. Well, I'm here to announce that I've been expanding Bytes VPN, and Bytes VPN is now just opened up the European server. So my first European servers are in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and in Paris. So we got two server pools right now in Amsterdam and in Paris. So if you're in Europe, Bytes VPN, Brax router, all that's now easily configured to work in Europe because of that. And I'll keep expanding this as we get. Most of my viewers do come from North America and in Europe, so it makes sense to expand the VPN to Europe. Might expand it to Australia next, since there's a good number of people who support us in Australia. So if you're from Australia and you're not currently on Bytes VPN, but you want to be, let me know, and that depending on how many people are actually interested in coming in from Australia, I can open up the Bytes VPN in Australia. So and might do so in other places depending on the demand, but again, in a controlled way, because I want it to be controlled. So anyway, it's any plan on Asia? I am thinking about Singapore, depending on the demand. But I'm thinking about Singapore. It's very expensive elsewhere. Singapore seems to be fairly reasonably priced and high speed. So at the moment, the only area that seems to be financially feasible is Singapore. India is expensive, very slow. So India will have to get it from some other Asian country. SpaceX and Starlink for next week. Oh, that Starlink. Oh, see, it's too many terms beyond CR. Too many terms. Okay, if people are talking on the couch and there's a smart TV, who's watching who? The CIA is watching you for sure, if they care. If you are known target for other than that, I don't think anyone is going to be that disciplined to go out of their way and hack into it. Okay, so okay, what am I missing here? So anyway, yeah. So Bytes VPN. Many of you are supporting me by being a Bytes VPN subscriber, and some of you actually asked me one of you asked me a ton of questions, like would take me an hour to respond to, saying, does the VPN do this, do that? It's like, it's only $89 a year. I can't really spend too much time for $89 a year to explain it. So I'm going to tell you this: if anybody's been unhappy with a VPN for any reason, like maybe it doesn't work in your region because you're in India or in Hong Kong and you want to go faster and you can't because of where you are, I'll refund it to you. No big deal. Okay, I'm very flexible. I'm not here to make you unhappy or steal your money. So it's win-win. I mean, I'm here on YouTube, so I can't cheat you. You can come in here and say this guy's a cheater. So no, you have a face to trust. Now, some of you are saying, well, why are you better than NordVPN? And I'm like saying, do you trust that Lithuanian company, owned by a company that does, tracking and trackers and all that? That's their business, to collect your data. And you trust them on some unknown corporation when you have a guy that's right here talking to you face to face. So I don't know who you want to trust. You can trust whoever you want. I'm just saying I offer you a face, a person. So I am Bytes VPN. So you're not dealing with some stranger. If there's a problem with Bytes VPN, it's you can talk to me. So, or my staff. But I got other people that have to help me now. Will people still be able to use TikTok on foreign VPNs? Mad Cow, I do not want to use TikTok. So please don't ask me that question. I'm not going to be on TikTok. Do you want me to be on Facebook? No. So I'm not going to be on TikTok. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Leroy. Get in the water, Leroy. I'm in the water all the time. That's why I'm getting sunburned. I'm in the water all the time. So yeah, Leroy, get in the water. Thank you very much for watching, guys. And again, next week's video will be a scary new way of tracking us on our phones, and it just bugs me. It bothers me. It bothers me in a big way. And it's like I don't know there's no way around it at the moment. No protection. So watch out for that in next week's video. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to hit the like or dislike on the video, and I appreciate you watching. And if you're a troll and a naysayer, you didn't show up. I waited for you. Okay, you didn't attack me. I was waiting for the attack. Thank you, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.